Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is the Middle-earth in Mercia podcast, presenting our fifth episode of the Mercian short series. We weren't expecting to be back to you quite so soon, but Games Workshop keeps announcing new releases and new models. So we're back today, myself and Ash.
Hi guys, I think this is my first short actually, Sonny.
Yeah, I think it's
So
yeah.
maiden short voyage.
Yeah, I think it's the first one you've attended. So if you haven't listened to one of these videos before, most of our content is long form podcast content, but we've sort of started the Mercian short series to support all the various announcements that have sort of been going on, because this is a really exciting time to be interested in the Middle-earth strategy battle game. We've got a new edition on the horizon, and with that we've got this tie-in which you can see on the screen, the War of the Rohirrim, and we've got a whole host of exciting new models, rules and whatnot that we're expecting to be announced over the coming months. So if you want to catch all of that, make sure you do like this video and subscribe to us on Spotify or YouTube or whatever you happen to be following us on. But yeah, let's crack on with the news of today, which is we were expecting there to be some sort of tie-in, whether it's the release box or whatever, to be coming with the War of the Rohirrim film, which is sort of an anime film, which from my understanding is going to be canon within sort of the Peter Jackson verse. But I wasn't really expecting to hear anything from this for a little while. Were you, Ash?
No, I was surprised when I saw it this morning.
Mm.
A nice little release for us. I was only expecting, to be honest, I know they was releasing some models from other games, but I didn't realise they were going to give us a little nugget for this. So it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I mean, we if you haven't seen, we did a special edition episode, full length podcast, video episode, talking all about what we can expect from the new edition and our hopes and aspirations for it. So if you haven't caught that, go and check it out. But one of the things I did say in that was I was sort of expecting the Rise of Angmar, which is the recent supplement that has. Well, the models are yet to be delivered. And I actually said in that episode, I thought that was going to become irrelevant as soon as the new edition dropped. And I actually think I've been proven right a lot quicker than that. I think it's already irrelevant with this news. Which we will get to in a minute. What do you think, Ash? Like, has this stolen Rise of Angmar's thunder?
Yeah, I think a bit of stolen valor here because we're so used to seeing new models now that I think everyone's sort of probably more focused on the new edition than what's already just been released. I know some people probably will buy it because they want to get the Arnor stuff. It's been a popular thing that got taken out the range, but I think, yeah, this is sort of stealing its thunder a little bit.
Well, especially with the fact that if you were looking to get hold of some of the Rise of Arnor stuff, I would get over to the website now and put your orders in, because the vast majority of it is unfortunately out of stock. If you're seeing that they're out of stock on those pre-orders, I'd advise you to just keep checking in with the website. As somebody that's been ordering off Games Workshop for too many years now, when these pre-orders go up, the people's orders do tend to fall through, whether it's just because they haven't had enough money in their bank or a duplicate order, and then they briefly go back on the web store. So if you have missed out, keep an eye on that. I don't think anything apart from the rule book is going to be limited release, so just keep trying. But yeah, I would get over there soon if you're hoping to play Rise of Angmar within this edition. But this is meant to be a Mercian short, so we're meant to be keeping it short. So without further ado, let's move on to our next slide. And here you can see Wulf, who is the leader for from my understanding, the majority of the film of the Dunlendings, and we've got the dismounted model on the screen here. So, Ash, why don't you? I've been talking for a little bit. Why don't you talk us through your sort of views of this model, your initial impression? It's only been with us for a few hours.
Yeah, I think I was excited to see a new model come out. I think overall it's quite cool. If you want in new models, it's quite a cool looking model. But I guess when you compare it to the models we're used to in the Middle Earth game, I think it's starting to look very Age of Sigmar, very cartoon style. I guess maybe that's based because it's an anime. That the sort of reference work that they're working from is that anime style. I think overall though it is a cool model, but yeah, it's not the Middle Earth strategy battle game style we're used to, where it's a bit more realistic looking. This looks a bit too cartoonish, I think, maybe.
I mean, on the dismounted model, I'm not sure whether I would have picked up on it as much. I definitely think that it looks to me like the scaling has changed. So I can't remember the exact terminology, but Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings uses a really specific scaling. And it's more, I think they call it heroic scale, where it's more akin to having sort of the head and the hands are slightly oversized. Like if you made these models 6 foot tall, you would be like, oh, the heads and hands are really out of proportion. And if any of you are fans of Warhammer 40k, a really sort of prominent example of a change away from that is the Militarum Cadians. So the old Cadians were really hyper heroic style, over the top, big heads, and now they've gone to a more realistic. And to me, this I'm not sure if this is a move away from that heroic style, and let us know in the comments if I have got the terminology wrong there. But I think the proportions have changed. I think the ratio between the body, the hands, and the head definitely look like they've changed to me. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, I think the model is looking very like thick with double C's. I think like you say, I think it looks more in proportion as a model with itself, but I think it's not what we're used to.
So if I'll move us to the mounted model now. Ash, do you want to continue talking about it?
Yeah, I think like the scale of the horse on the mounted model is sort of throwing it off even more. The horse looks a lot bigger than the horses that we're used to. Obviously, I've got a lot of Rohan models, so I'm sick of looking at horses. But yeah, I don't know whether it's going for more. It looks a bit like it could be like a Shire horse sort of based model. Maybe the horse is meant to be a bit on that larger side.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I said to you offline, it's not to say that I can't become a fan of this style, because it's not like I look at it and I'm like, ugh, no. Like, the Games Workshop sculptors, I think these days are more talented than they've ever been, and they're using better technology than they've ever had access to. As a standalone model, I've got no issue with this, and if I saw this in an Age of Sigmar release, it wouldn't even raise an eyebrow. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. But my big concern, and I do think like people that have got their videos out quickly today, maybe they just haven't had time to think about it, or maybe it's an oversight, but one of the things I don't see getting discussed is this is a major departure from many of the models that are still in the range. I mean, I know you mentioned the Warriors of Khan Doom, and they are more akin to this, aren't they?
Yeah, those over muscle features and that bigger looking model, that they look like that. But when you compare it to the other models that were released with the Arnor stuff, the scale just looks completely different. It looks a lot more, like I say, cartoony, a bit more like we say Age of Sigmar esque. Whereas we're used to that more realism within the models, I guess.
Yeah,
probably because the reference material on the other models is the films, whereas this is based on an anime, so they're sort of working from that. And
So if I then take us to another slide that you helpfully found for us, Ash. So this is obviously we can't see the whole horse here, but we can see Wulf and we can see the upper part of his horse, and we can very clearly see here that many of the design cues have obviously come from this, can't we? Like we've got that bone face mask. There's very dark, almost what's it called, color blocked coloring, and if we then go back to the model, like admittedly some of this will have been done with the paint scheme, like for instance blocking out the black in the mouth. That's something that's not previously been done, so some of it will be paint scheme, but it's clearly taking heavily from the anime, isn't it?
yeah, you can see it's pulling from the anime source, definitely, in the way it's designed. The edges are a lot softer. I'm just trying to find the image again. I've been looking at other ones, but yeah.
But yeah, my great concern is that, like, obviously, maybe if things have started to sort of steer us towards this, and actually maybe you can almost see a bit of a change as far back as the original releases for the Warriors of Dunland, with the Dunland Heroes, with Gorolf. He's like, a Arnold Schwarzenegger in his heyday kind of guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
But
I guess so as well. He didn't predominantly feature in the films, so when you're basing the models, I guess, off more artwork style design, it's gonna probably have that sort of artwork look to the model.
But I mean, in terms of, so let's focus, because we're focusing heavily on the design aesthetic here, because I think that is. We've got some rules that we will go through, but out of the information we've been given today, I think looking at the model and looking at the direction that the range is going to go in, I think this is the most interesting bit of information. And yeah, the thing that's really striking for me is look at that bone faceplate on the horse. That is completely and radically different to any aesthetic that we've got. That is real cartoony, clean, and I think the model overall, he looks clean, doesn't he? And I think that's something we're not used to, and like even like going like real subtle, like look at the hair on the horse, the way it's styled with the flow of the airflow through it. That's quite different from many models that we've seen. That's more sort of like what we saw with the Warriors of Khan Doom, with the shaman character with his cloak. That, like, people were saying, oh, that's quite stylized, and I think we're really seeing that in the furs and the hair. And like I say, as a standalone model, does that damn this? No, but what I'm going to show you next is we've got a side-by-side with the Theoden model. So this Theoden, plastic Theoden, it was done with the relaunch of the game, wasn't it, Ash? With the Battle of Pelennor Fields set, which I think you actually got.
Yeah, so, I've got him in my cabinet.
So yeah, that's 6 years ago. So that was the beginning of the last era. And I do think just because of the level of attention this game gets, which is on the smaller side, we're not going to see a re-release of this model. This is going to be our Theoden for this next edition. And I think I've done my best to roughly make the bases the same size, but it's not perfect. So take that with a pinch of salt. But if we look at the aesthetics, I think it's radically, radically different. Like on Theoden, he's an incredibly intricate model. There's a hyper level of detail, and I think it is going for as much realism as possible. Whereas then if we look at the Wulf model, I think we're going for an artistic interpretation of a character as opposed to pure realism. What do you think of that, Ash?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think I'm interested to see when they release a Rohan model, So we have something that is Rohan inspired to compare to
You have
Theoden.
you've been a bit too savvy there, and you've cut ahead of what I was thinking. Because what I'm thinking is, for the launch box, I think it highly likely. Like it's just a known thing. When they sell boxes in their stores, they don't like selling resin, and especially not for a launch box. So I think it's highly, highly likely we're going to see Rohan Dunland in new plastics. So what
Yeah,
are they going
I
to
think
do
so.
with the Rohan plastics? Because are we going to have a range of excellent Rohan heroes? I mean, we've got Dunhelm slash Erwin, we've got Theoden, we've got Aemma, and then we've got a whole range of excellent, excellent Forge World character models for the Third Age War of the Ring era Rohan. Are we going to see them ran with a Rohan force of whether that's just warriors, riders, or also Royal Guard that's completely out of step with it? And that's a worry for me. That's a worry. What do you think as a Rohan player, Ash?
Yeah, I think this is. I think I'll make that judgment when they release a Rohan model.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to have a whole suite of new Rohan heroes. Looking at the trailer, looking at the art that's been put out there. So will the older Rohan models become sort of redundant because we've got this new shiny toys?
Mm.
Is what I think might happen. I guess I'm sort of looking at it with hope that this model is um, larger because it's meant to be like that more Shire horse, wild horse look, like to fit in with the Dunland theme, and
Mm.
then the Rohan horses will be the more pristine sort of horses, like racehorse style horses that we're used to.
Mm.
Um,
I do think like there's lots of things about this model I like. I do think um, the changes in scale. I think for a tabletop model, Games Workshop are some of the leading model manufacturers in the world, and there's a reason for that. And their models are beautiful, and we're obviously big fans of many of their other ranges. And the more I look at this, the more I do actually think, like, this could be bigger and better. But I'm just worried about the increment between now and then and how many releases we're actually going to get. Like, are we just going to have 15% of the range that looks completely different to the entire rest of it? If we were getting a full range refresh and they were like saying over the next 10 years we're dedicated to bringing out all the models again, I would probably be in favour of that because there's nothing stopping you playing with your old models. But for those of us who want this new style, we would have the option. And the other thing I'm also thinking is longevity and where does the game go from this? Because, I mean, War of the Rohirrim, we don't know enough about it yet. It could be the most successful animated movie of all time. It could be a complete flop that's getting pulled from theatres after a week. We really don't know. There's some stuff coming out of it that seems really cool and really exciting, and a great opportunity for storytelling. And then there's also like a few statements which, as fans of Tolkien lore, is maybe a bit concerning. And it could go either way or the other. So, what is the longevity of sort of the fanfare from this film? And then also looking to the future, we know that we know that Warner Brothers want to make more films. They're filming the Search for Gollum right now. It's not impossible to think, yeah, they've managed to get a tie-in with this film. Could they get in a tie-in with that? So what happens if we have sort of 3 years of releasing models in this style, and then it's like, no, we're back to live action?
yeah, how often are they? How committed are they going into this style? But I
Yeah.
guess even when I guess if you look at the new old world models as well, it is in that style. So maybe
Hmm.
it's just a change of style within the Games Workshop design team, and
I,
yeah, this is what the models are going to be like now. When
I,
you look at some
yeah.
of the fan art, we're going to look like we're going to get new Easterlings,
Hmm.
new Farhara, not new Farhara, but new Hara, new Dunlin, new Rohan, possibly new orcs, because they always have to show up in some form or another.
I mean, so just piping in, and I'll hand it back to you. So another thing that I've not seen mentioned by other people that are covering this is some of the stuff that has been mentioned in like the stock reports and things like that. Games Workshop have said to shareholders that they have a commitment to moving away from Forge World resin. They don't want in that business anymore. They want to move to plastic, and they want to move to maybe alternative measures. They didn't say that, but they definitely made a commitment to moving away from Forge World resin, which is the only type of resin they currently are bringing out new models. So we know that's the future. We also know from the shareholder quarterly meeting this year that they have said that they are very, very aware that at the moment they're almost creating like a seasonal model for their business and their IPs, in that at the moment what they've got is every 4 years a new edition of 40k comes out and their spreadsheet skyrockets. Every 4 years a new version of Age of Sigmar comes out and their spreadsheet skyrockets. And they are looking for other games at minimum. This is something they said to stockholders, so this isn't rumour. They are looking at minimum for 2 games to step in to those voids and become part of their regular release schedule. I heavily suspect that Kill Team and what was their other one? The Age of Sigmar equivalent are going to play a role in that. And the Old World, apparently its sales are outrageous. They're doing fantastic. But this seems to me like Lord of the Rings is going to be brought up to the front line. What do you think on that, Ash?
Yeah, I think so. And if, like we know already in the pipeline, we've got this War of the Rohirrim film coming. They're already filming another film about Gollum. So we've got basis for new models, new releases. They're not just trying to rechurn out old models that have been pushed out the range or come up with new models based on the lore that we know about. They're going to have films. They're going to be able to work with films to bring us those new models and those new releases. So
and I guess what I'm saying is that that's great, but it needs for those of us who invest a lot of money in this, it needs a cohesive roadmap. There needs to be a plan. If this is the new style, this needs to be the new style for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think so. I think they need to stick with a style, and let's see. I guess this is the first model we've seen from the potential new range. Let's. I think we need to wait and see what's going to come out of the next release. Who are they going to release next? Are they going to now give us I guess they're going to give us a Rohan hero, hopefully, and we can then have a proper comparison between Rohan and Dunlin. Because, yeah, like I say, could this just be they're a bit more buff as a like a race, and they have like these Shire horses instead of like the smaller horses? Yeah, so hopefully they give us something soon so that we can compare new model versus new model. But yeah, I think at the minute it's going to look odd if you took this model and played it against Theoden, for example.
Yeah,
I think the styles would look a bit odd, but I guess if they're going to go for this style, which, to be honest, I quite like this style as a style because we're used to it now, seeing it with the 40k models.
I've got to say, with it on the screen while we've been talking, the more I look at it, the more I actually do like it. Like, I'm not a fan of that bone mask, but like, you know, I can get a modelling blade out. I can get a modelling blade out. I can scuff it up. I can make it maybe into like a beaten bronze sort of thing. You know, I can change him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do actually think the model itself. I'm not a fan of the scimitar. It's one of the things I've heard from War of the Rohirrim that I am a little bit worried about, is that on the Peter Jackson films, they had people involved in that which were absolutely fanatical about arms and armor. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the documentaries, but they had genuine experts involved in that. Which I'm not even going to talk about arms and armor. If you want to hear the ins and outs, go listen to them, because I think I know a fair amount about it, and they completely put me to shame. But what I will say is that the Dunlendings in the Tolkien lore, they're like the Rohirrim are meant to be basically an analogous for Anglo-Saxon. This is meant to be a legendarium, legendarium for England. That's what he wrote it as, because during the Dark Ages, we lost all of our creation myths and things as a culture, and he wanted to create one. And the Rohirrim are the most closely linked to the Anglo-Saxons, i.e. the English. And the Dunlendings are meant to roughly be akin to sort of a combination of Celtic and Nordic cultures, the cultures that Anglo-Saxons were most closely in conflict with, who share a lot of commonalities. And straight off the bat, I don't think anybody that was involved with the original Peter Jackson's films would have given a Dunlending a scimitar. I know maybe like I'm too deep into caring about details there, but a scimitar, yes, it is a horseman's weapon, but it certainly isn't a Celtic horseman's weapon or a Nordic horseman's weapon. What do you think, Ash? Am I being too picky on the details there? Is that something you care about? Do you think it's something the average fan of the game cares about?
Probably not. I guess if you're a hardcore Tolkien fan, which you are a little bit, you don't even like Rings of Power, so you liked that pure Tolkien lore. I guess there could be some backstory behind it. How he seems like he's got allies with like Paradigm and things like that. There could be a backstory behind he got this sword because of something. So
that would be acceptable. That could be a cool story. It
looks like he's the only one with a sword like that in the fan art. So hopefully that it's not going to be all of the Dunlins.
No,
style swords. So
I will hold my hands up and say I was completely wrong if there's some sort of cool backstory there. Like, maybe he was fostered with Easterlings or something like that, and he picked up the style of weapon. That would actually be really cool character building. And I'll hold my hands up and say, yeah, I was dead wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, going back on what you say, I think there are more than a few of us, but for me, I'm a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and his expanded works. Everything else is secondary to that. I love the Peter Jackson films, but it's an interpretation. It isn't gospel to me. Gospel's what Tolkien wrote, and I do think there needs to be room for interpretation. I mean, some of the stuff Peter Jackson did, I loved. Some of it I hated. I hated what he did with the Army of the Dead. I think it completely missed the point of the Pelennor. Whereas I thought he did good things, like, for instance, although Glorfindel's a really cool character, totally makes sense to substitute him out for a little bit of the film and put in Arwen so she gets a bigger opportunity to build her character. And it also sort of avoided a lot of greater questions which are answered in the book, like why is Glorfindel not going with them, and that's really going deep into Tolkien lore as to why it would have been akin to running around with fireworks and a massive blazing torch saying we're over here, and they didn't have time for that. So there is room in these interpretations, and I am open to that, but I think it needs to be it needs to serve the story. I'm hoping that the stuff they've done in the War of the Rohirrim is to serve the greatest story and tell the best story possible, rather than ticking boxes.
Yeah, I've just read some lore actually in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So that could explain the scimitar. Is basically Helm kills Wulf's dad with a single blow because he's like a beast. and then they fled and became allies with the Easterlings, Harridim, and Corsairs. So there could be some story there about why he's got a sword like that.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. It's a good point as well, and it's probably a good example of like, it seems a bit as somebody that prefers sticking with Tolkien's lore, it's a bit concerning to me right now that like Freelaf, I think I've got that name right, haven't I, Ash?
Yes, you have, yeah.
Freelaf, he doesn't seem to be playing a prominent role in the trailers right now. And considering he will be the King of Gondor at the end of the story, that seems a bit confusing.
King of Rohan.
Why do I keep saying that? I did it in the other video. King of Rohan, not Gondor. Yeah, that does seem a bit concerning. Like, why is he not a bigger character in it right now? But we don't know. Maybe they want it as a massive third act reveal of like this badass comes in and he starts helping everyone. The unexpected savior coming from left field. We just don't know. So we do. It's all right to have concerns, and obviously this entire, making these videos, doing the podcast, a lot of it is just sort of batting around ideas, isn't it? But we have to make sure we don't get too entrenched in our positions until we've got the full story.
Yeah, and I think let's look at it from the point of view, it's a cool model on the tabletop. You don't have to be fully immersed in the Tolkien lore and the Lord of the Rings to enjoy the game. I think you can enjoy the game, and if this is the style they want to go, I think it'll look cool. If all the models follow that style, it's going to look amazing. If they don't, okay, why does this one model have this feature, or why does this one army have this design style, but you're sort of sticking with the original style with the rest? I think we need to see those next models to fully make our opinion on what's going to happen.
I think a good way to put it, because like I say, making this video, looking at more and more, I'm liking it more and more. I don't like that skull mask. That is the main thing I don't like. But like, yeah, I think a good way to put it maybe is, all right, you've made a pretty bold statement with this model. Show us where you're going with it. There's no reason they can't pull it off. There's no reason it can't translate to the whole new range is banging. And I also do think, even if the War of the Rohirrim absolutely sucks as a film, which I'm not saying it's going to, this can still work and still be a great success for Middle-earth strategy battle game.
Yeah, and I think hopefully it brings new interest. If there's new interest in the hobby, then Games Workshop are obviously going to invest more into Middle-earth, so that'll hopefully churn us new models, continuous changes, and hopefully we could become as supported as some of the other games. And obviously more films is gonna drive new content. I mean,
they have the ability to discuss with the filmmakers and the studio, like, what's your 10-year plan? We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. This could be the toe in the water that does launch this to be as big as the Old World or Age of Sigmar. I don't think it'll get to the levels of 40k because that's stratospheric. But they could.
But even Tolkien didn't write in the same amount of books as we've got in 40k. So,
yeah. But it could be the case. They know there's 2 or 3 movies coming over the next 10 years. Let's see how this one does. And then we've got the potential to sign another deal and bring out things. That is wild speculation. But could be.
Yeah.
Okay then. I think that is about all we have for this Mercian short. You had a bit of speculation there. I know we didn't cover the rules. I don't think they're exactly groundbreaking. You can check out the Warhammer article, but it's essentially
there was a strange phrase in the rules that I found quite amusing.
Okay, we can pause the goodbye to go over that.
Sorry, I'll just obviously the rule is the usurper king.
Yeah.
Which basically means if he's engaged in combat, this sounds like it should be just a Rohan thing, but then when you read the writing, it's if he's engaged with an enemy hero, so it could be any enemy hero by the sounds of it. You can roll a single d6 during dual rolls,
Mhm.
and then additionally, Wulf must re-roll to wound rolls of a natural 1. But why do they need to say must? Because surely anyone in their right mind is going to roll a 1, re-roll ones.
That may just be a tightening of the rules writing, because in the past, for instance, on poisoned arrows for Harridim, it's not been entirely clear whether you must re-roll. Like, for instance, if you've hit your own model, maybe that's just a blank.
Okay.
Maybe
but I guess
maybe that's just a
blanket
blanket.
statement.
When we put reroll ones, we're going to put that. I don't know. But yeah, as Ash has just read the rules there, I don't think they're groundbreaking. I do think it is a bit of a view into maybe how we're going to see the styles of rules. I suspect he's going to have other rules. But maybe this is sort of what we were talking about with the removal of special strikes, that we're going to see more rules like this on profiles to give heroes in particular options. But
and it basically sounds like he's got a banner for himself basically with this rule.
Against heroes.
He can just re-roll
against heroes.
Against heroes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there we go. I do think this is a really exciting time to be part of the hobby. I know we've mentioned some negatives, we've mentioned some positives here, but it wouldn't really be very interesting if you just turned up and me and Ash agreed with each other for half an hour, would it? So I think it is fun to bat around these ideas, these concerns, these excitements, and from the looks of it, we're going to get the opportunity to keep doing this probably for the next 3 months when we get time to make these videos, because there's more coming. So my advice to you, if you're interested in the Middle-earth strategy battle game, is start saving up your pennies. Get ready, a new edition is coming. It's probably going to be quite expensive to get into, unfortunately, but also a really exciting miniatures game to be involved with. 2025 is looking to be the biggest game, the biggest year for this game, I think, for at least a decade.
I think we've got a good couple of months of releases coming that we can talk about and get excited about.
I wish it was here now, man. I wish I knew the full story. I wish I could be thinking about what I'm going to be spending my money on. I'm already saving. I
think they could have waited till after my wedding, so I had some money to get these things.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be cool. All right, that's all from me. Anything from you, Ash?
No, I think we've covered everything.
All right.
Oh, apart from like and subscribe.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Amongst this excitement, I hope you get out there and you manage to enjoy the last 3 months of this already excellent edition. I know we've got more tournaments lined up. Those reports are going to be coming. It's not over yet, and there's more fun to get out of this one. All right, cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.